Chapter 1. The Vault Shadow Series by Michael Anthony Neal Jr. Series Description. In a city slick with rain and paralyzed by fear, a legendary crew of thieves known as the Vault Shadows executes a string of surgical bank robberies that defy logic and timing. As lead detective Marcus Hale obsesses over the invisible patterns behind their success, a high-stakes game of cat and mouse unfolds. But in a world of cold steel and calculated risks, the line between the hunter and the hunted begins to blur, revealing a web of corruption where the greatest threat isn't the men behind the masks, but the shadows guiding them from the inside. Part 1. First Blood. The city wore rain like a bruise that morning. By 8:30, the sidewalks were slick black mirrors, reflecting traffic lights. Part 1. First Blood. The city wore rain like a bruise that morning. By 8:30, the sidewalks were slick black mirrors, reflecting traffic lights, storefront signs, and the hurried faces of people who had no idea the day was about to split open. Brighton Federal stood on the corner of Halpern and West like it had always stood there, solid, polished, expensive, secure. The brass handles were wiped every morning. The floors shined. The lobby smelled faintly of lemon cleaner, coffee, and paper money. It was the kind of place designed to make ordinary people believe in safety. At 9:02 a.m., 6 men walked through the front doors. They did not arrive like wolves. They arrived like customers. Dark jackets, baseball caps, neutral faces. One of them paused just long enough to glance at the promotional posters on the wall as if he were considering opening an account. Another brushed rain from his sleeve. They spread through the lobby with casual precision, each step unremarkable until the exact second it wasn't. Then the masks came up. The first shot cracked through the lobby and shattered the morning forever. Security guard Frank Dobbins barely turned before he went down, coffee splashing across the marble and a brown arc. Screams rose instantly, thin and ragged, but fear strangled most of them before they became full voices. A teller dropped beneath her counter. A customer stumbled backward into a rope divider. The branch manager, Owen Mercer, froze in the doorway of his glass office with one hand still on the frame. The leader moved first. Darius Kane was not the loudest man in the room. He was the quietest, and that made him the center of it. Broad-shouldered, controlled, eyes cold through the black slit of his mask, he carried himself like a man who had already lived this scene in his head 100 times. He pointed once at Mercer. "You, with me." Mercer tried to speak. Nothing came out but a frightened rasp. Behind Darius, the others unfolded into motion. Leon Alvarez, called Ghost because he never wasted movement, locked down the lobby with hard, deliberate sweeps of his rifle. Caleb Wright, Numbers, went over the counter with economical speed, already pulling open drawers, sacks, and till compartments as if he'd worked there himself. Marcus Bennett, known as Locke, headed for the secured corridor without hesitation, his gloved hands ready for steel, combinations, hinges, anything that stood between them and the vault. Troy Carter kept one eye on the front windows and another on the clock in his head, every muscle tuned to timing. Isaiah Cole, youngest and most volatile, moved with a violence that felt almost eager. People obeyed because terror made obedience the only shape left. Mercer fumbled with the vault keys so badly they clattered against the tile. Darius leaned close enough for the man to feel the heat of him, and said, low and flat, "Pick them up." That voice did it. Not the gun. Not the chaos. The voice. Inside the vault chamber, air felt cooler, metallic, dead. The heavy door opened with a groan that sounded almost human. Locke and Numbers moved into the stacks, sweeping cash into bags, clearing drawers, stripping shelves with the blank efficiency of men performing practice labor. They ignored anything sentimental. Papers, deeds, photos, jewelry boxes full of family history. None of that mattered unless it converted fast. Money mattered. Portable wealth mattered. Everything else was just clutter from other people's lives. Back in the lobby, the world had narrowed to breathing, crying, and waiting to see who would be next. Darius checked his watch once. Time. That single word sent the crew shifting again, fluid and exact. The hostages were forced toward the rear, crammed into the vault space, and locked away from daylight with their terror still echoing off steel. Then, just like that, the robbers withdrew. No celebration. No panic. No wasted second. By the time the first sirens cut through the rain outside, the 6 men were already gone. Detective Marcus Hale arrived at a scene that looked less like a robbery than an executed design. He stepped beneath the yellow tape in a dark overcoat with rain on his shoulders and calm in his face. His partner, Detective Elena Ruiz, followed close beside him, scanning the broken glass, the blood on the marble, and the survivors wrapped in thermal blankets. "Witnesses say 6, Ruiz said quietly. "In and out fast. No hesitation." Hale crouched near the security guard's body, then looked across the lobby, tracing the positions, the sight lines, the sequence. He didn't see randomness. He saw geometry. He saw intimidation used like a tool. He saw timing. He saw a crew that trusted the clock more than luck. "This wasn't chaos," he said. Ruiz looked at him. "No." Hale stood, eyes moving toward the vault corridor. "It was choreography." That night, in a house beyond the edge of the city where a dead quarry fell away behind the trees, the 6 men sat around a scarred wooden table and divided the cash under one hanging bulb. Darius said very little. Isaiah wanted to grin, wanted to talk about the fear in the lobby, wanted to taste the legend before it even formed. Darius cut that impulse off with one look. "We are not famous," he said. "We are invisible. The day you confuse those 2 things is the day you die." Nobody argued. In his apartment hours later, Marcus Hale sat alone at his kitchen table, dispatched logs spread around a glass of untouched whiskey. The city was already calling it the bloodiest bank job in years. The mayor wanted reassurance. The commissioner wanted progress. Every station in town wanted his face in front of a microphone. Hale wanted only the timeline. He studied response stamps, radio handoffs, and the tiny dead spaces between calls, the places where systems stuttered. There, buried under routine paperwork and weather delay, he found something small enough for other men to ignore. A gap. Not big. Not obvious. Just enough. Enough to make a well-drilled crew vanish into rain. Hale leaned back in the dark and stared at the papers until his own reflection floated faintly in the window over them. Outside, the city shivered under stormlight. Inside, the hunt began.